What's up, humans? It's Jaffe. Welcome to the new episode of I Love the Weird. This is an edited, streamlined, supplemented version of the show that we did live a couple of nights ago. We talk about a lot of stuff in this one. We pretty much went down a bunch of rabbit holes. It was a lot of fun. Bukaki joined us. Good to have him on the other end of the phone, giving his input, his wisdom, especially about why babies are born. You will see. We talked about artificial intelligent dead people, which is a subject I adore. I think it's fascinating. We talked about all the crazy UFO news that's going on all over the world. We talked about something called dream seeding, which is a ways off, but there were studies done in the last couple of weeks that suggest that if certain technology comes online in the next 50 to 100 years, we all have very much, let's put it this way, you think you're kind of annoyed by and or threatened and or scared by the big corporations today, y'all ain't seen nothing yet if the dream seeders get their hands on you, or at least on your brain. So it's a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments on Twitter, on Discord, what we can do to make the show better. In the meantime, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you at the end. This has been the most fascinating thing I've read all week. There's a doctor in New York who led an experiment. This is peer-reviewed. This is not in some fringe magazine or anything like that. And what they did was people would have cardiac arrest all over the world. And about 25 or 30 universities and hospitals were set up for this test. And in cardiac arrest, they would attach electrodes and whatnot to the individual who was having it. And they would track his brain, the brain waves and whatnot. Most of these people died, and some of them came back. But ultimately, though, what they found was, listen, scientists have witnessed brain patterns in dying patients that may correlate commonly reported near-death experiences, such as lucid visions, out-of-body sensations, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we kind of have known that, right? But this is where it gets a little interesting. They're basically saying that the brain now appears to facilitate lucid understanding of new dimensions of reality. All memories, thoughts, intentions, and action towards others from a moral and ethical perspective people view in their deeper consciousness, it says. Patients who survive cardiac arrest have consistently reported that even though, from the perspective of doctors who try to revive them, from their own perspective, they find that they're fully conscious. They have an inner experience. Their consciousness is not only there, but heightened to a level they've never experienced before. This is the doctor quoting it. Their thoughts become sharper than usual and clearer than usual. This is the most important thing. Listen to this. Experience involves a purpose. This is crazy because, I mean, this sounds like bullshit. The experience involves a purposeful, meaningful reevaluation of your entire life. Not just random moments, but the entirety of life. It's been a mystery, and it's not one or two anecdotes. There have been a number of studies that have suggested maybe up to 10% of the adult population is living with one of these experiences, which, if you do the math, is about 500 million people. This is a real fucking study. Ravnos, you are just Mr. Contrarian. Ravnos says, I love doctors who are arrogant enough to think they have a clue what they're talking about as far as consciousness and death or near-death states. That's what science is. That's what, is you explore this stuff. This guy doesn't know. He's not saying there's an afterlife. He's not saying he is, if you read the paper and pull your head out of your ass and stop trying to just be a contrarian and think someone's always trying to get one over on you, you would realize that some of these people are just curious. He literally says, we're discovering essentially what happens to us when we go through death, what happens to our consciousness. Our plans are to do more comprehensive methods of analyzing what's happening in the brain second by second to essentially map out the neuropsychology of life and death in people as they go through it. Then he does talk about, he's like, look, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm in it for the science. I'm curious. So to shame them or mock them, like I said, this is not, I would get you if we were like talking about the National Enquirer. But this is a study that is peer-reviewed in a medical journal called Resuscitation. And resuscitation is not some fly-by-night thing. It is a It's been around for a very long time, and it deals 99% of the time with cardiac arrest. It's not a woo-woo magazine. And again, I'm not suggesting it's real. It may just be brainwaves that, fade away. But it's worth studying. Here's what I'd like to know, Ravnos. I would like to know, so science is using the scientific method to try and prove a theory, says Ravnos. I know people who were dead for minutes and didn't see tunnels or angels or have life-changing events. Yes, I understand. And that may also be the case. It may be that the people who experience this are simply at a different state of consciousness when they die than the people who see nothing. And I've heard those people as well say that. That doesn't mean it's not worth understanding. Let's assume it's all just brain chemistries. Fine. Study this stuff, says Ravnos. I just wish there was conclusive evidence. Yes, that's why you study it. Again, I find the folks who like to plant a flag and say, this is real, this is not, there is nothing after death, what you see is what you get, frankly, are just as obnoxious as those people who are absolutely certain that when you die, the word of God from the Bible is real and you're going to heaven if you haven't been a bad guy. None of us fucking know. I think
it's a lot of it is just a coping mechanism, because whether you believe that you die and there's nothing, or you have some grand vision of what happens, if it does get explained, it's not gonna live up to what you thought. And if it doesn't get explained, then you hope that it's nothing, because hopefully all the shit that you did in your life isn't gonna make you wind up in some place you don't want to be.
Perhaps, but I think I certainly don't believe that by any means, that there's a heaven and hell and all that. But I find it frustrating and annoying that atheists, and I'm an agnostic, that atheists are so quick to just act as if we have a history in science of what you see is what you get. Do you know how much shit we didn't know about because we couldn't see it until we had the technology to see it? But these people would have been throwing out those guys as well back in the day. It's like, oh, molecules. Yeah, atoms. Sure, show me an atom. I don't see one, idiot. It's annoying. L2 Game says, if the people on the cutting edge did what the public wanted, Ford would have sold horses. Some quote like that. I mean, that's true. I shouldn't be frustrated by it. I should be grateful that you and I, L2 Games, and some people in the chat, and Bukaki possibly, have the mental wherewithal to have a vision of things. We don't have to see it to know it's possible. And everybody else is just kind of like, well, I've just seen too much stuff, like, while taking a lot of mushrooms, to not think that there's something else going on. I agree something else is going on like that, but I also would totally be fine if it turns out there's not. If it turns out, no, it's just your brain and it's neurons firing weird and that's how it goes. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't care if we die and there's darkness and there's nothing. Because, whatever, who cares? You won't notice it. You won't care. But people they want to come at you when you talk about this stuff. It's really weird. If all it is, think about this. Most of what we are, if not all, not all, but most is because of evolution, right? In the sense that we evolve and the things that our species determines are valuable, those people fuck more, have more babies, those genes get passed down, right? And yeah, there are some things that over time we get rid of because we don't need anymore, or things that we haven't gotten rid of yet, but we still don't need them anymore. But when you think about something like, let's just assume it is pure chemical and there is no afterlife, and you die and the brain, for whatever reason, according to this study, and a lot of other anecdotal stuff and actual studies, it's a real fucking peer-reviewed study, it turns out that the brain, for whatever reason, gives you this experience. Well, if you believe in evolution, is that experience, like, why? Like, once you fucked and you're dead or you're dying, evolution shouldn't care if your trip to the next experience, whether there is one or not, is pleasant. It would just be like, go away. We don't care. We don't give a fuck about you. You're old, you fucked, you're done, move. Right? That's evolution. So it is weird to think that for some reason our brains have evolved to provide us with what this evidence and these studies are starting to show, which is when you die, you have these transcendent and incredibly unique takes on what reality is. Like, why would that be there? Documentary last night about the UFOs. I am stunned. Let me ask you this. Let me ask the chat this, and I'll ask Bukaki this. If you saw a UFO, would you feel weird about telling people that you saw it, or would you have a desire to keep it to yourself? Because on this documentary, there was a big thread running through it about why people don't share that they've seen UFOs, because it's like, oh, people will think I'm crazy and they'll think I'm, out of my mind, and they'll think I'm a quack and all that stuff. And I'm like, is that the majority of people? Like, Bukaki, if you saw a UFO, would you tell anybody or no?
I mean, I would tell people, but I wouldn't be like, I saw a UFO. I'd be like, I saw something weird. I don't know what the fuck it was.
Right, but you wouldn't keep quiet. Would you feel awkward and like you were going to be shamed as a quack if you told people about it? Because apparently a lot of people in this kind of community that they were reporting on this documentary last night on Netflix have seen them, but they kept quiet for a long time because they felt like people would think they're crazy. I would never keep quiet about that shit. Taweli, I think I'm saying it right, says if I saw a UFO, aliens would become my new personality. That's all I'd fucking talk about. That's all I'd fucking talk about.
It's Towley, Jeff. You never watched South Park?
No, I'm a fucking grown-ass man, Bukaki. I don't fucking watch cartoons. Titus Crow says, aliens hide in plain sight now. Nobody wants to know, and they hide in the white noise. Look, there are all these stories. Again, I don't know if it's true. And somebody in the chat was just saying maybe it's a, psyops operation. And that is a theory. I haven't watched it yet. There's a movie, I guess, from a handful of years back. It's all about psyops and UFOs and how the government has tried to manipulate. Here it is, the Mirage Men, and how the government has tried to manipulate people into thinking things were UFOs, but they really weren't, obviously, because they want people to stay out of their fucking yard and not know what they're up to. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was happening. But at the same time, if what these people are saying is true, and these things are moving as fast as they are, we just don't have technology that does that. I understand that you could say, oh, I saw lights. Okay, fine. But these people are talking about these things that are just, 0 to literally 3,000 miles an hour with no acceleration. That's not like when I was in high school and they were keeping the stealth bomber quiet. The stealth bomber, was still having to adhere to the laws of physics. What do I think of the Mexican alien bodies? It's really weird because at first I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I looked into the guy who talked about them, and he obviously sounds kind of like a quack. And he's said some things in the past that have been kind of shot down as bullshit. And then they did x-rays, and the x-rays, some of the news coming back said that these bones inside have not been adjusted. It's not like a bird mixed with a monkey mixed with a dog. This is a complete skeleton that's never been altered. But then there was a story today, as Ravnos is pointing out in the chat, that these look like llamas to people who looked at the x-rays. So I probably think they're bullshit. Stephen Johnson says UFO sightings go back thousands of years. I think they're real. Listen, part of this documentary, again, it's called Encounters, I think, on Netflix. You know, I read Chariots of the Gods, if you read that shit back in the day, which was all about religion basically being aliens, and them, you know, all the miracles and stuff were aliens. And I hadn't thought about it in a while, but the documentary opens with this guy who's very religious, and he's like, dude, the Star of Bethlehem, if you read the Bible, it's like it's guiding the three wise men. And the way he read the passage, and I haven't read the Bible, of course, he's like, that's a ship, right? That's a ship that's moving through the sky guiding these people. Is that true? Probably not, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't fucking surprise me if this stuff has been with us for a very, very long time. Alien, says Addie Pie, are just, again, this is such an arrogant perspective, Addie Pie. Addie Pie says aliens are just something we try to comfort ourselves with so we don't feel so alone. I wish that some people could get some credit by some cynics for not being mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging morons, okay? It's same with religion. It's like, I understand self-soothing and coping, and I understand that we do that as a species, just like we invent all kinds of stories back in the day before we knew what things were, right? In order to make ourselves feel comfortable with the fact that the earth may shake or the sun may, quote, go out. I get it. But you also have to include in that the fact that there is a consistent, continued bit of evidence on this stuff that is not explained. And would it be cool if they were aliens? Sure. But who cares if it's not? Who cares if we're alone? It's like people should be able to study this stuff and be fascinated by this stuff without being, called into question by people who are like, oh, you just don't want to be alone in the universe. Like, I don't give a fuck about being alone in the universe. I'm just curious. Ravenous says, my biggest reason for doubting aliens have been here. It has to do with the speed of light and quantum logic. I mean, possibly, or that's almost like somebody in caveman days going, there's no way I saw Fred, and then, I don't know why they're called Fred, all cavemen were called Fred. We're called Fred. I saw Fred, and then somewhere across the world they saw Fred on the same day. That's not possible. But it's possible today, right? So, hell, just because we don't have it in our life right now, all the shit that we can't imagine doesn't mean it's not coming down the line eventually. Have you heard of dream seeding? SEED.
Is that like a wet dream?
No. It is, but it could be. It is an actual thing that is being studied and has bared fruit, and it's potentially dangerous, but awesome. It's not lucid dreaming. It is a technique where scientists have been playing audio cues at certain key moments of REM state, and in that, it will influence the dream of the dreamer. And so the worry, of course, they're saying is, look, this could become a real big problem if government gets a hold of it. This could become a real big problem, obviously, if marketing gets a hold of it and suddenly they're affecting your dreams and shit. I mean, we're, centuries out from that level. It's right here. The Ethics and Tech of Dream Seeding. This was published this summer. New technology is taking research and advertisers into barely charted terrain, your sleeping mind. So I'm not making this shit up, fellas. This is the real deal. And, this stuff is kind of fucking batshit. It's fucking batshit. I mean, but look, I would pay for it if somebody said, all right, look, here's an app, and at the right time, it'll seed your dreams with this really cool story that you get to be the star of. I'd fucking do that in a heartbeat. Even if it wasn't lucid dreaming, hell yeah, I'd do that. You goddamn right I would. It's pretty fucking cool.
Mr. Jeffy, you ordered the Date with Taylor Swift package, is that right?
Goddamn right. Get it on up here. Let's go. I totally Totally, I would do that. And that would be the first dream. Probably the first dream I'd have. I'm going to show you two things. First, I'll show you something bizarre but real. I showed this to Bukaki. He said, "Is this a real thing or this is a bit?" This is not a bit. This is a commercial from the early 90s.
I don't believe you, dude. This is fucking crazy.
Well, you can not believe me, but I'm going to show it. You tell me.
Then again, I remember the fucking Miss Cleo ones too, and people.
Yeah?
I'm sure she's fucking rich off of all that shit.
Well, check it out.
Cute little dog you've got there. But hold on. In a previous life, he could have been George Washington. Nice cat. Perhaps Annie Oakley. And look at him. Why, it's Napoleon. Reincarnation. What human being was your pet in a previous lifetime? Master reincarnationist E. David Scott will tell you when you call this number. Just answer simple questions with your touch-tone phone. $1.95 per minute for entertainment only. Under 18, get permission. Call now. Learn who your pet was as a human in a previous lifetime.
I mean, come on. Come the fuck on. That was real. This, unfortunately, sadly, was also real. But the guy survived. So I'm going to show you something, but don't get all upset. I'm not showing you something evil, but because the guy lived. This is a globe of death. This happened in China a month ago. Look at this fucking thing. Right? Look at that. So, but he survived. He survived. Darth Nugget says, Jaffe, never ever did the interview with the seance chick from the first one. That was supposed to have happened a year ago, maybe longer. Well, so here's what happened with that. Is I thought it was a great seance. What happened to me and my brother and what she told us was just crazy. And there's a video of it on this very channel. My dad died as well. Philip's dad died as well. Is he there? Do you sense him?
Okay. I'm just going to tell you what came in.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me. The exact thing that came through when I asked that was, he just wants to know if he's my favorite. He's saying someone just wants to know who's my favorite between you and your brother is what he's saying.
Oh, yeah, David,
I know exactly what she's talking about.
Okay,
when he was on his deathbed and hospicing, we have a video where, and he was a little bit out of his mind, but not much. And I wasn't like on morphine or anything. He was just going, and Philip said, just making a smart comment, said something like, well, I'm Dad's favorite. That's all right. And one of the last things he said was he kind of looked at Philip and said, that's right. I got that on video. He's stupid. He's like, he's not stupid because I really don't care. What? He says, you looking at his favorite son. Dad looked at Philip and said, that's right. And I got it on video. And he just started laughing and laughing and laughing. So,
making a joke. This was a joke.
Okay. Either way, it's good that he's there. But it, not a lot of people watched it. It wasn't scary. Like she told me, she's like, this is not going to be like the movie, whatever that movie was when the girls were doing Zoom and they had a seance and everything went tits up. And she was right, but it was great. But it's kind of like telling people your dreams. It's like, if you're not actually in the seance, it's not that engaging. I still do want to have her, on the show to talk about her experience, and I will. I just haven't had a chance. All right, let's see what else we got. What do we want to talk about, Bukaki? What do we want to talk about, chat? I have topics, but it doesn't have to just be me. It can be you guys. I mean, granted, I don't even recommend watching this stream. I think what you should do is get this app. You can text with Jesus. Text with Jesus is a new instant messaging app powered by GPT that allows users to chat with Jesus Christ and other biblical figures impersonated by popular artificial intelligence programs. Created by Cat Loaf Software, who else, an app development company in LA, the new messaging program features a plethora of biblical characters, from Jesus to Judas and the rest of the apostles. Even the First Testament protagonists like Ruth, Job, and Abraham's nephew Lot. He's a nut. And if your dark side takes over, you can even chat with Satan. Come on now. I should call this every day. Every fucking day. Mr. K says Jaffe believes every study he reads, meaning he thinks Graham Hancock is a quack. Is Graham Hancock the guy on that Netflix show about archaeology and all that? I do think he's a quack. But I think he's a quack specifically for the same reason I believe certain scientific studies. If I see a scientific study in a peer-reviewed actual medical journal that has been cross-checked and approved and agreed with by many, many people who are experts in that field, I'm inclined to believe it. When someone claims there was a city, an ancient city that in no way humans at the time could build because this and that and the other, and then you've got all these actual scientists and archaeologists saying, yeah, but what he's saying isn't true. There was a civilization nearby. They were able to do this kind of building, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think he's a quack because he's claiming something extraordinary. I think he's a quack because his justification for the extraordinary claim is debunked by pretty much anybody who graduated high school. Mr. K says, Jaffe, the earliest civilizations began around 4,000 before Christ. Göbekli Tepe is 14,000 years old. How are you going to tell me there was a civilization nearby there? I'm saying that, look, just go Google debunk whatever the doctor's name is and or whatever the guy's name is, and you'll see it. And you'll see like real big boy scientists saying the guy doesn't have a pot to piss in. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, I may have the specifics wrong about what it was he said, but I don't have the big picture wrong about, this stuff is not possible.
You just believe what every accredited scientist with a PhD tells you, don't you?
I really do. I'm going to tell you something. Again, I said this the other day. I get why people voted for Trump. I don't like him, but whatever. I think he's a nightmare, but whatever. But I get why they felt unheard and they needed somebody to at least pretend to be listening to him. But what came with that? My God, how quick. I mean, we're going into the fucking dark ages again. How quick we threw out expert opinion and scientists and people who studied for decades just because they weren't telling us what we want to hear. I think we're a bunch of fucking idiots, frankly.
I'm going to sound like a loser nerd gamer
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Oh, yeah.
Hideo Kojima was right with Metal Gear Solid 2.
Why? What part?
Well, at the end when the AI is like, we have to curate information for humanity because you guys are too stupid to filter what's true and what's not true, and all this information that you're getting is too much and you're not going to be able to separate the two of them. Like, it's kind of already became true.
And
like
it's horrible, but it's true. Look at this on your screen. Look at this goddamn thing. Is the U.S. government preparing to announce aliens? This is the Senate's proposed UFO control disclosure plan, how it could work. In the Senate, they are trying to get, and I think it hit some resistance in the House of Representatives, but they're trying to figure out the process by which they will announce this, because there are psychologists that say if you tell people aliens are real, you're going to fuck with their fundamental understanding of life and existence. And
I don't even think that's true, to be honest. Like with dinosaurs and shit, religious people already either deny that they existed at all, or they just say, oh yeah, they were around like with humans like 6,000 years ago. Like, the scientists are wrong.
Oh, the dinosaur? Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's insane, man. I don't know how we got so fucking stupid. And that's arrogant of me to say, like, I'm some kind of smart guy. But it's just people, I don't know, man. They just believe all this bullshit. It bothers me. But what are you going to do?
I thought the most interesting thing you shared with me was that study about people thinking about music and them reconstructing it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And you could actually hear the music somewhat just from their brainwaves. That shit was crazy.
Let us have that chat. But before we get into that, I'll show you something that's related, because I'm going to show you something in a minute. But there's a story here. Scientists use GPT AI to passively read people's thoughts and breakthroughs. So they've put people into MRIs or whatever to track their brains, and then those people have heard stories, like they got told 16 stories, and then afterwards the AI was able to determine what those people were thinking by seeing their brain, because those stories allowed the AI to put together, okay, if this part of the brain lights up, he's thinking about X. And so that's the beginning. And then what Bukkake's talking about, which is you actually get to hear it, is cool. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a couple of weeks back. They did another study. Scientists basically said, let's hook people up and let's see if when they hear music and then think about music, we can play the music back based just on their thoughts. And this is what, let me turn down the other music that's playing in the background right now. This is actually what was recorded. This is a real fucking thing. They played them Another Brick in the Wall, and this is what was played back from their brainwaves. Listen to this. The excerpt was reconstructed from recordings of brain activity made by 61 electrodes in a single person. So again, what's amazing about all of this is, again, Addy Pie, you're such a fucking moron. So what? What does it mean? What it means, Addy Pie, is that they are able to look at the human brain with a certain bit of technology and tell you what it's hearing and thinking without anything else. So now imagine them doing that with memories. Imagine them doing that with interrogation methods when you capture bad guys. What does it mean? It's
Maybe
amazing.
you could finally play your fucking dreams on a fucking screen or something. That'd be crazy.
Yes. But here's the thing. Maybe you have to be a certain age to have a little bit of perspective of history. Think about how far we have come in 50 years. Now think about this and jump ahead 300 years. Everything from what Zuckerberg was showing the other day to shit like this to being, I mean, we won't recognize existence in 300 years. There's no fucking way. Look, let's be clear. Twisted says for $5 a month, get abused by the God of War creator himself. Look, my allegiance is to the show, and I love people who help me fund the show. I'm very grateful, and I always make my gratitude clear. But what I'm not going to do, just because somebody's paying ducats, put up with horse shit. If you don't think, I mean, seriously, what kind of hillbilly rope holding up your pants, dumb motherfucker do you got to be to not be impressed by the fact that current science can take brainwaves from motherfuckers and tell them what song they're thinking of? What the fuck are you talking about? Good God.
So if that fucking Elon Musk brain chip did shit like that, would it make you change your mind at all about getting one?
Not with Musk. I don't trust him at all. I don't trust him to do anything as it relates to putting anything but his own self-interest first. But do I think eventually there will be enough scientists and doctors that are like, okay, they're trustworthy? I would say, fuck yeah. Absolutely, I would do it. Of course. Somebody earlier in the chat said, what do you think about transhumanism? I think it's great. I think that's where we're going. I think that's the only way to survive. And I think we're supposed to do that. Look at humans today. Humans, the average age, I almost think, I think even 100 years ago, the average lifespan of the human was like 35 years old.
Well, that's also why in the old days,
47 years old.
People were having a bunch of kids because a lot of them wouldn't live,
right,
past birth.
Right. And so, it's like, look, the idea that it's like we never should do anything but be born and don't wear glasses and don't, have surgery if you have a tumor that they can take out and you'll be fine. Just, if you die at 15 because you got the flu and then fuck you. But anyway, all of you have 15. You had a good run. That's right, Titus Crow. I just don't get it. I just, maybe that's why religion has a hold on some people, because they're like, well, yeah, I want to die. I get to go to heaven. Because people push back on the transhumanism stuff. They push back on it like, well, you're playing God if you do CRISPR and all this shit. I'm like, good. Because if God's real, he made our brains and our brains created this shit. And why the fuck would I not want to look at the DNA of my unborn child and go, oh, well, if I can choose to make sure he's not going to have these diseases, cool. If I can choose to also do things for him that or her that will allow them to thrive in this society, why would I not do that? Ravno says that is eugenics. I don't think that's eugenics. I thought eugenics was looking at people and saying, because you are of this race, you naturally fall into this bucket of ability and disability. But regardless, if it is eugenics, fine. I mean, I don't understand. You're telling me if you were pregnant or your significant other were pregnant and you could basically sit with the doctor and they said, look, here's 58 traits that we can flip a switch or not. What do you want to do, Jaffe? I'd be like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, who would not do that? Eugenics is the weeding out of, I didn't say bad genetics. CDR3D says bad genetics, but only allowing the strong and healthy genes to survive. Spartans did this. Yeah, I don't think if you weed people out that are born, that's acceptable. That's horrific. But do I think that if your parents, look, when we got pregnant, me and my ex-wife, because I have on my dad's side a certain lineage of Ashkenazi, I think is what it's called, and so you get tested for Tay-Sachs, and it's like, look, you know, you can have your kid, but we want to run a test to make sure you're not predisposed for it, because it may make you go, this might not be a viable option or a viable pregnancy. How is that different than sitting with a doctor and saying, hey man, yeah, I want him 6 feet tall. If it's a guy, well, we could choose. Okay, let's have a son, 6 feet tall, really smart, blah, blah, blah. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't understand.
And that's why I think it'll never go away either, because there will always be a group of people that will be like, no, you know, this is God's plan. We need to have this child the way he designed, you know? I know. I know.
Look, I hate to be a dick, but it's like, really? The guy, it's like, it's God's, I mean, think about the abdication of responsibility on the part of someone who's like, well, I guess my kid's got cancer. It's God's plan. Fuck you. What a horrible parent. I mean,
that's a thing. The singer Metallica grew up in they call them Christian Scientists, and that's their whole thing is they don't use medicine.
Yeah.
Because they think, well, you don't have enough faith. If you had more faith, then you wouldn't even get sick. And they just watch them fucking die. It's the saddest thing.
Ravno says, my issue is when you mess with genetic markers, there's going to be unforeseen issues. Sure. There will be. There always will be. It's like, do you want to live in a fucking bubble? It's like, if you don't mess with genetic markers, there's going to be unforeseen consequences. Oh shit, my kid grew up stupid. Or my kid grew up and instead of being a genius, he murdered a bunch of people because he didn't quite have the chemical balance needed in his fucking head. Why would you not? I mean, everything's a crapshoot. Everything's a fucking crapshoot. So you may as well, you know, stack the odds in your favor if you can. Should we use eugenics to eliminate diseases and disabilities? Yeah. Or should we, I don't know if eugenics is the right verb we're talking about it. I'd say CRISPR, but, or should we accept human diversity and value all lives equally? Why are those things mutually exclusive? Why can't we value diversity and value all lives and still use science to improve our lives? I don't understand. So Jaffe, you never answered, do I believe in vampires? No. Why would I believe in vampires? Alex S.? Who? What? No.
You believe in goblins?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, yeah. You know. I'm trying to find this person said. Oh, here it goes, Mr. K. He says, once again, Jaffe's lack of regard for consequences. Before you freak out at me, I love CRISPR. I'm just pointing out your trait that makes you so different and opposed to many people.
I don't know why. I imagine Mr. K like with a southern accent. Once again, Jaffe's lack of regard for consequences.
He sounds like Kevin Spacey in House of Cards.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not about lack of consequences. It's about going, look, you know, we have to push the boundaries. We have to explore. If you're not comfortable with that, I don't think people should be dragged into it. But what I don't like is when people with their own fear of advancement get in the way of people who are totally fine with it, right? It's like, hey, you know, I wouldn't trust Elon Musk, but if Johns Hopkins or Cedars-Sinai said, hey, we're doing not Cedars-Sinai Hospital said, you know, we're doing a test with very, you know, awesome doctors and experts and all that, and you can put these chips in your head, and we've done enough tests on animals. I'm not saying I'd be first in line, but I would absolutely try it. Fuck you, Twisted Sith. Jaffe sounding an awful lot like WW2 Nazi scientists and doctors. No, I'm not. I am not. Wait, see, this is a problem. People are, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm not saying we should use CRISPR to edit our children and they should be this. These are the switches you should flip. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you can aid your look, what is different? What is different between a parent, a dad working his ass off to send his kid to a great college in order for that kid to have a higher percentage chance of getting a great job? What is different than that than a dad going in with the mother to a medical place that does CRISPR and saying, hey, I want to flip these 3 switches in the DNA so that the kid is able to digest information faster and retain it? One is suddenly awful and against humanity, and the other is something you don't even think about. I don't really understand that. Jaffe is forcing someone else's desire on an unborn child. What do you think being a parent is? Do you think the kid comes out and you sit there and go, hey, kid, 1 day old, what do we do? What do you want? What experience would you like us to craft for you? They're babies. You have to do something. Whatever you do is going to affect them.
One of those fat little angels with the wings flies around. He's like, I wish that you guys would fuck so I could be born. So they actually ask to be born first, and then you fuck them, and then their soul gets transferred into the baby. I don't know if people knew that.
Are you saying that the Cupids are the babies that get born after they make people fall in love?
Yeah, because, you know, like, it's awesome. Like you said, the kid doesn't ask for consent to be born either, but that's actually a misconception. The little fat angel guys, they do ask to be born, and that's
the cherubs.
Yeah.
I have never heard that, but I'm a fan. I'm a very big fan of that theory.
Yeah,
so
that's widely accepted.
Flying around. Okay. So look. Yeah, I think we're absolutely going to be putting our souls into computers or our consciousness if we can. But where it will start, of course, is AI replicating humanity, replicating actual people. I saw somebody joking about it on the chat, but I told my kids the other night, you know, look, Elon Musk stood on stage last week and said, we are doing AI characters. And, you know, they're going to have personalities and likes and dislikes and backstories and all that stuff. Well, you know, there's already a handful of companies, one of which is called You Only Virtual, that is doing that. They are basically taking your social media footprint and they are turning you into an AI. So when you're dead and gone, your loved ones and whatnot can still kind of talk to you in a weird kind of way. I would love that. And then if you take it a step further, And you think about those photorealistic Lex Freeman, Mark Zuckerberg podcasts.
I mean, I'm actually almost at a loss of words. This is just so incredible. This is truly incredible. I hope that people like watching this can get a glimpse of like how incredible it is. It really feels like we're in the same room.
It's going to be mixed reality in my own fucking kitchen, and I'm waking up early and I'm making pancakes, and I summon the AI bot of my dad, and I'm like, hey, I'm making the pancakes you taught me how to make, and we just fucking talk. I'm not an idiot. I know it's not my real dad, but that's pretty fucking cool. It's like living fakeness. It's all living fakeness. It's like you walk through the world thinking that this is real. You walk through, I mean, everything, even if we're not even talking supernatural stuff, even if you're just talking the facade of society that has been, shoved in front of our faces in order to get us to be worker drones, to make people money and all of this shit. It's all, suspect. What's the problem? Arathazel says, why is it suspect? It's real life. It's amazing. It's well, there's two reasons. One is our perception of reality is simply a simulation anyway. I don't mean simulation theory. I mean the fact that we are molecules banging together is what we really are, right? And so what you think of as real is just a manifestation of the way the molecules are coming together. But more than that, you're not even seeing it in real time. You're seeing it like 2 milliseconds late because you're actually sitting in darkness and your eyes are creating images. All of it's bullshit. But I'm talking more about the societal bullshit. I mean, do you know, that's why that story about the government, like how do we dole out this information that aliens may be real? You know how easy it would be to just shake the foundation of people in terms of their belief in what is and what is. I mean, look what happens when there's a disaster. Look what happens with 9/11 or COVID or anything that just kind of, shakes you out of the normalcy. A lot of people lose their shit. They cannot handle it. And so we are living in a experience that is intentionally or not curated and cultivated to motivate us to do certain things that powers that be want us to do. You know what I watched? I had to. I was totally curious. Have you guys watched that show about on HBO Max where it's a dating show, but there's full frontal nudity? Have you seen Bukaki? Have you seen this?
No.
I forget what it's called, but I skimmed through 2 episodes because I was very curious. It starts with just their legs and either their vagina or their penis. And then everything else is like a barrier, different colored barriers. And there's 6 people. And the person comes on and they pick the first person and they say, who do you want to get rid of first? And then you kind of go, okay, I want to get rid of that person. So you get to see what they look like and they walk out and it's like, oh no. And then they just keep raising those barriers up. So you start to see the midsection and the upper chest, and then you start to see the face. It's the craziest fucking thing. It's not, I mean, it's not saucy enough that I would want to watch it. Like, 'cause it's kind of boring actually. But it is interesting that people are willing to fucking, do that. And, there's lots of wangs and vag as Angry Dad.
That sounds fucking crazy.
It is, it's kind of nice though that in some ways it's, normalizing nudity a little bit.
Have you seen that dating show? I think it's like a YouTube thing where it's just 2 people sitting on a table and there's a button. And when they press the button, the person that presses the button stays and the other person leaves, and then another person comes in. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, they'll literally
based on what?
Like, it's just 2 normal people. They just talk. And then, like, sometimes, like, someone will just press the button right away before they even say anything.
Just 'cause they don't like 'em?
saying, yeah, basically, like, you're too ugly or some shit.
Oh, show. It's like a dating thing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
Do you remember when you were born, says Mask? Sure. No. I remember, the first thing I ever remember, I have two vivid memories. One is just of a certain color of blue, which I don't know what that is, but that's one of the first things I remember. The second was I was in the backyard of our neighbors going under a bush to get a little rubber ball that had bounce back there. Do you doubt your own existence? I don't know what that means. The only thing I'll tell you about that, Mask, is when people say, well, life is exactly what it was before you were born. You know, you came from nothing and you'll go back to nothing. And I always found that very stupid. I'm not saying they're wrong that there's anything after death. There may not be. Or after life, there may not be. But I don't remember a lot about my life before I was about 3. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean other people weren't there and they remember it. So, you know, I don't believe just because you don't remember who you were before you were alive means anything. It could mean everything, but it's not a foolproof argument. Would I resurrect my parents if I could, not knowing the potential consequences? Well, I need a little more information. Would they come back and they'd be rotted and decayed, or what do you be more specific? Was there ever a consensus why you and the Gavin and Games community on the Mandela effect with Norm Macdonald? Most people felt, Radical Desi, that it was like 56% said that they felt that Bob Saget died first. And I agree with that. But if you go on the internet, Bob Saget died after Norm Macdonald, which that's crazy to me. That's not how I remember it. Radical Desi says, I thought Bob Saget died first as well. Right. FTW says, didn't he? Nope. According to the internet, maybe the universe that we were in that slipped into this one, perhaps. But in this
I
one,
only knew because I was watching interviews with Bob Saget where he was all sad about
that's
dying.
That's what a lot of people say. They're like, oh, I saw the interviews with Saget and that's how I knew. But yeah. I never saw those interviews. I remember, like, Norm Macdonald dying seems like that happened 2 months ago, 5 months ago. And Bob Saget dying seemed like it happened a lot, like 2 years ago. There's a woman in New York who went to visit her. This is crazy. She went to visit her parents' grave in the cemetery, obviously. And I guess the ground was all mulchy and wet and shit. And when she was going to put the flowers on the grave, the ground gave way. She fell into the coffins, cracked her head, or no, her teeth on the gravestone. And she couldn't get out because it was like the dirt collapsed in after her. And she was stuck there for like hours, you know, standing on the corpses of her rotted dead parents, waiting till the cemetery opened again and the guy came and got her out. It's not a fake story. You don't believe me? Fuck you. I don't lie. Look at this shit.
What a fucking loser, dude.
Woman, grave, parents, falls in grave, teeth. I don't fucking know. Fuck you. Let me show you this shit. There you go. The only thing that was a lie was it wasn't New York. It was Long Island. Check this shit out. Don't fucking come at me. I don't lie. Woman sucked into parents' grave, suing Long Island. This happened a handful of years back. Suing the cemetery. Woman visiting her parents' burial plot descended a lot into more than despair. She sank hip deep into their grave. In a real-life horror show, Joanne Cullen bent down to fix a bow on a wreath by the headstone when a sinkhole formed and began to swallow her up. It caused her to fall forward, smash her head on the tombstone, cracking a tooth. She then tried to bounce back, and she started sinking into the ground and grabbed the sides of the tombstone, her lawyer says. The stunned North Belmore, Long Island woman cried out for help, but no one could hear her. Getting sucked into your parents' grave when you go to visit them on a cold December afternoon when the sun's going down. It's terrifying and traumatizing, said the lawyer. So fuck you. Fuck you. Tell me I'm lying.
That's fucking funny as fuck.
You goddamn right it's funny as fuck. Look at these fucking idiots thinking I'm making shit up. I don't fucking lie. Crazy. So much good stuff to talk about. And I don't know. I think that show really made me recognize and realize that there just are. It seems like there's two kinds of people when it comes to this stuff. There's the people that really don't want to have to think about this stuff or deal with it. They just want their and it's not critical. Like, I'm not saying their day-to-day lives are bad, but they're like, that's their focus. You know, they don't care about this stuff, or they think it's dangerous or whatever. And then there are people like me that just, I'm like, I don't fucking care. Let's go. You want to do some CRISPR shit? You want to fucking upload brains into computers and live long goddamn day. Absolutely. So, you know, that I think that was on display wonderfully in this particular show. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you like this format? You have topics you want to talk about on the next one? You want to call in and talk about them? Anybody you want me to interview? It's our show, fellas and Filettis. What can we do to make it better and even more weird? In the meantime, happy Halloween month. It's October 3rd as I'm recording this. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you guys on the various streams we do here as we get into the best fucking holiday month of the year. Meantime, stay weird and be well.